Hi, how are you? Thank you for joining me. My name is Paula McGurdy and I'm a visual artist, and I recently started these conversations with other female creatives within Ireland to really open space and to find out a bit more about other creatives' process and why they do what they do. And today on the podcast I am speaking to Paloma King, and Paloma creates big abstract landscapes, and we have an expansive conversation. I would say we talk everything from cosmos to tree hugging to creativity, everything. Paloma was a joy to talk to, and I hope that you get a lot out of her energy and her creativity, so enjoy. Hi Paloma.
Hi Paula.
Thank you for coming on. Thanks for joining me.
I am very delighted. Thank you for asking me.
No problem. How are you doing these days?
I'm doing good. I'm just enjoying the sunny weather and I've been enjoying having a bit of time off with no pressure. I'm back in the studio again working hard, but I've just loved having a bit of dreamy time, wandering about time. Yeah.
Fantastic. So was the studio closed during lockdown, was it?
Yeah, my studio's in a big linen mill in Belfast. It's a gorgeous place. It's cobblestones and it's a big brick building, and they have crystal, big windows, big arched windows. And it's really a fantastic place. There are lots of potters and photographers and interior designers and tech guys and jewelers and all sorts of things. It's a fantastic place. So yeah, so it's closed down for a while, but it's open up now. Yeah.
So I can see your gorgeous works behind you there, Paloma. So you do abstract paintings, and can you tell us, I generally start off with the same question each time because I'm always curious how people started and where their art journey began. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. How is it that any of us do the things that we're doing? It sort of fascinates me, and how we end up in places. What is it that draws us to the things that we do? And I'm very interested in cosmology and sort of the history of how the world came into being. And a cosmologist that I love, his work is called Brian Swimme, Swimme. And he was talking about how in the very initial stages of how the world, after the Big Bang, how everything came together, the hydrogen, the helium and all the particles and atoms, it was all sort of based on attraction. And the sort of it came together in attraction. So it all just stayed apart and just done their thing. Everything would just have been whoosh. But because they had this quality of attraction towards things, the worlds eventually, and more things became attracted, the world eventually came into being. And I think that this quality of attraction, because we know we're made from the same components and things as the stars are, that I think that tendency towards attraction is something that comes into our lives. And I think it depends on the quality of our attention to those things that sort of draw us. And, when I look back in my life, so many things have drawn me a little bit, and it only needed to be for a little bit. For example, music. Music is still like everything to me. It's just, but.
I know, yeah.
Sorry, I don't know. You'll have to edit this out. I don't know why I'm going there. It's just
obviously something that's very much dear to you and very much on your heart. And I understand I get emotional speaking about those things as well. And I think particularly as a creative, it's so deep rooted in you that it's like a wellspring or something,
Yeah, it's like a wellspring. It's just like so anyway, I played the piano and I sang as a soloist and as part of a duet and part of a trio and as part of a magical group and part of two choirs. So I was always singing and playing, and the music was like breath to me. It was just like life. And the piano was not like an instrument. The piano was it was just like part of everything that happened. As soon as I came in from school, I went to piano. As soon as I got up in the morning, I went to piano. So it's just like another element of my sort of existence. And what was I going to tell you? And then I had this wonderful singing teacher this is all relevant to painting, but I'm always very convoluted the way I speak, so just bear with me. But I had this fantastic singing teacher called Marion New Pritchard, and she wasn't the most inspiring looking woman. She was very, I mean, God forgive me for saying, but she was just a very ordinary woman. Her effect on me was so enormous my whole life. You sort of think she's going to be this a big Italian woman with, fantastic black hair and a big Roman nose or something. But no, she's just an ordinary Belfast woman in her house down the street. And anyway, I would go and she would teach me the song. And so we'd learn the song. I was very, very young, like about 6 or 7 or 8 or something. And we'd have to learn it in Italian. So we would learn the song. And then she would say to me, she'd say, this song, you're in a garden in Italy. It's midnight. The moon is shining. You're behind the lotus flowers. You're waiting for your lover to come. Sing me the song. Sing me the song. Sing me the song. Go to the garden. So I would have to go in my mind. So the whole room was transformed to this garden in Italy with the pond and the moon and the mysterious lover about to appear and the smells of blossoms, and the song would then. So she taught me to completely get lost in things, completely transport myself to other places. And I think this is a key element in painting, is being able to be lost and to go sort of, it's not like soul flight, or some people call it soul flight. It's not that. It's just, it's not that. It's just, I don't know what to say now, but it's just the ability. And a musician would have it as well, whenever you're playing or singing. So, and also the singing, and the playing, you're very connected to your physical body. And I think today we can be very connected to our heads. I mean, I'm now very connected to my head. I've always headphones on, listen to something, which I deplore really in a way. But we can be very head connected. Where when I was a wee girl, because I'm very, very old, I was always doing things like, embroidery and knitting. You'd learn to knit a wee bit, and then you'd knit Aran and knit Fair Isle. And we'd go and pick wool from the fences where the sheep had left wee bits of wool. And me and my friend would go and get this wool, and then would twist it and spin it and get a wee man to make us a spinner thing. And then would dye it with the flowers, and then would weave it and make ourselves wee looms. Wow. And then would weave it and do all those things. We're so into doing and making, which again enhances what you're doing as an artist, because it gets you used to not just the brain-mind connection, your sort of dexterity and things, but just you're getting tuned into using your body, and your body is becoming an instrument. But it's like that thing, you know what I mean? It's just where something's coming through. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to explain that. I don't know if you know how to explain it, but
I guess I feel like you're talking about energy as well, sort of the energy.
Yes.
If you're talking about the cosmos as well, like what we're made of and the energy of what we're made of and how that comes through us and then is executed in some way, shape or form, be it creativity in some way, maybe.
Yes. Yes, totally, absolutely agree with you. It's about the energy. And sometimes I think when we talk about energy is such a big thing, and energy healing, and I'm so interested in all that. And your chakras and your breath and all those things.
Too, actually, Paloma, like more recently, definitely.
Yeah, and in Ireland, they've a lot of it. They've a lot of knowledge about these things. Maybe more so in the south of Ireland. But sometimes I think when you say energy, it's kind of it's like something that's disconnected from you in a way. It's like the energy's out there. That's the way I feel. Sometimes the energy's out there. And one thing that I've been doing is, one thing I find as I'm going along, is that I feel more and more connected to the world as a system. And, like I know that I can't live without trees. I can't live, if you think you're a human being without plants and without trees, you're not thinking very deeply, because they are providing the oxygen that is actually in our lungs. It's actually there, and your blood is actually being affected by the sunlight. Yeah. So we are so a part of, we all know this, we're part of the universe and all that there, but just, I think, deepening your understanding of that is is a mysterious and beautiful thing. It's just, the mystery of life, the same life, at the heart of life is a mystery. It's not a puzzle that can be solved. It's a mystery that you just have to grow into. So just as you go along, you're growing more and more into that sort of, like I am part of this, when I just love going out in the morning and breathing in the outside air, and thinking this is my air, this is my planet, this is, and we're all connected. We're everything. And that is something that I would like to, that I hope that some sort of hint of that is in my work. I don't think anybody's going to look at my paintings and think, oh, cosmos and all this. It's just that you hope there's a bit of a feeling about them that people can just tune into in a way they don't really understand either. So.
I love that you brought up trees and being part of things. That's really, I'd say the last couple of years I've had quite a change in my outlook. And I don't know if that's just part of me getting older and becoming more and more aware of things. But, oh my goodness, the trees, I feel like I go out now. I'm going to sound like a crazy woman, but when I'm out and about, I even encourage my kids to do it, just to hug the trees. I feel this connection with them and with the roots, and just even speaking to them. I know I sound crazy, but I feel like that there is this worldwide collective now that is, I feel like that there's some kind of movement that either it's come into my consciousness or it's come into the world's consciousness, and that we're much more aware of where we come from, and us as beings within this world, partaking in this world. And I guess there's so much about the environment as well that it's all, I feel it heavy on my heart these days. I would say, in a positive way, but also in a worrisome way, I guess, as well. So so I love that you brought the trees into it, because they're very much. Yeah.
Do you know the Herman Hesse poem about the trees?
No, I don't. Tell me. Yeah. Or I'll look it up.
I used to be able to quote big lumps of it, but I can't. But it's talking about the tree. The tree, just what the tree really wants is just to be a tree and to be itself, and it's completely at peace with life and with the world and with God and with living out its own secret. That's all it wants. And but yeah, I agree with you about trees, because on the avenue just close to where I live, there are massive big trees, big pine trees, and I remember them because I've always lived roughly around this area. I've been away and back and away and back. But, trees that I've known since a little girl, and they're still there. They're like sentinels and sort of like guardians. And I think, what sort of a being are these? And I know they're all connected underneath the things. All the life that's in the trees and the birds and the squirrels and the leaves that come in and the clothes at winter. It's so much like us, the cycles you can learn about yourself. And sometimes in winter, I am actually feeling a bit, and I look at the trees and think, don't worry, the spring will come. The trees give me hope. It's like they talk to me and say, don't worry, it's okay, you're in the winter, yes, learn all about them, be in the winter. And then whenever you've done the winter thing within yourself and you've completed your winter cycle, then the spring will always come again, so that it's like this continual. And then the summer, whenever they just burst open, and it's just, you just run down the avenue, just go, oh, thank you so much for all your beauty that you bring. So, they're just, it's just, we're so lucky to live on this beautiful planet. It's just,
I know. We take it for granted as well, don't we? But yeah, the trees, I feel like, are spiritual beings in some way, shape, or form, Yeah. So tell me, Paloma, did you go to art college? Are you self-taught? How did that begin for you?
Yes, I went to university in Belfast. I had been painting since I was about 17. Well, I used to be married. I'm not married now, but I used to be married to a guy who's an artist. He was a musician, of course. I'll never fall in love with musicians. So, in fact, I married him because I thought he had lovely hair. That's the truth. It's not my number one criteria. But anyhow, he was a nice fellow, but he was an artist. So we were always drawing and painting and things. And then whenever we got married, we were drawing and painting. So I was always drawing and painting, And except he had a gorgeous big studio in the bottom of the garden, and I was just in the kitchen making pasta with dogs and cats and my family and things like that. Always a pot of something, stirring a pot and trying to paint at the same time. Anyway, then I went to university. Then I worked in the fashion business and did all that kind of thing. But it's all, drawn to beauty, drawn to balance, drawn to harmony, drawn to what you can do with your hands, drawn to form and light and texture and all those things. So it was all part of painting. Everything's part of painting to me. Cooking's part of painting. Even whenever you're cooking and you don't know what you're doing, you're going to put things in and go, oh, why am I doing this? And then it's, it tastes so delicious in the end. It's like everything is painting. So everything is teaching me. Yes, I went to university, but it's mostly in university. I find it's just working it out for yourself. I remember one of my tutors used to come past. Actually, it was Neil Shawcross, who I just love and adore. Neil. Everybody loved him. Loved for a while. He was my tutor. When he just come in the morning, look at what you're doing, he'd just say, "Go for it." And that was what I remember from his teaching. He taught me lots of other things, but he would just say, "Go for it." And I think that's sort of an interesting thing, because sometimes people are afraid to go for it. They're afraid to let go. I remember whenever sometimes I did a wee bit of teaching in schools, little tiny kids teaching about creativity, but not really about painting, but about creativity. So I would say to them, right, these wee tiny kids, and they could just about write. So I was interested in how they could let themselves go for it. So I was trying to get them there, but I knew I had to start slowly. So I would say to them now, write your name at the top of the page. And I want you to do it in your very, very, very best writing, as good as you can. So they'd write out their wee names, and they loved writing it out all neat and tidy. It's a wee bit wobbly and all. I said, that is so good. And I said, right, now turn the page over. And I said, now write your name out really mad. Just go really bad, like your baddest writing, your big mad wild writing, just do that. And honestly, even if they're only like 5 and 6, they really struggle to do that.
Okay.
They struggle to give themselves the permission to just be, to do things they didn't know what they're doing, to have that thing. It's so fascinating. So then I would put on music for them and say, feel the music and feel the colours. Come on, we'll go outside and run around. Let's all be red. Red's like this. And all be blue. We'll be blue like this. And be yellow. We'll do like this. And then they'll come back and then they would try, anyway, leather and now. So what are we talking about?
It seems like you'd be a fantastic teacher. I can imagine. They loved you, I would say.
It was so funny, because whenever I come into the if you've been out from lunch, you come back to the classroom, and they would run up to you like wee birds, and they would try and hold, bits of my arm. They're all trying to hold my arms, and I think, oh, you're not allowed to touch children anymore. So I'd be walking in the 2 arms like this, going, oh, flip me, I'm not touching. They'd all be hanging on to you like wee birds. They were so cute. But yes, so about that going forward. What am I talking about now?
Well, let's talk about your
part of education.
Part of education, yeah. And what about your day-to-day? So how does your day-to-day work, like in terms of you creating and making? Like, do you go into the studio every day? How does your practice work, I guess?
I do try to go in. I do go into the studio every day. Sometimes I'm really, really strict and I'm in early, but since it's lockdown, I can't get to sleep and then I can't wake up in the morning. So I'm a bit sort of skew at the minute, but yes, I usually start the day outside with the dog, walking in nature, and then come in and have loads and loads and loads of breakfast and croissants and honey and loads of fruit and loads and loads of food, and then have a big coffee. I'm always eating and drinking, and then I'd meditate to just sort of get close, come close, return back, sort of feel out and do nothing, come back to myself and assimilate everything. I'm always doing courses and learning things. At the minute I'm doing a fantastic course. I'm just going to give it a wee thing on here. It's a Canadian professor. I think he's a cognitive science, but he's called John Vervaeke, Vervake, and he's done this fantastic series called Awakening from the Meaning Crisis. So he starts at the very, very beginning of, Plato and Socrates and Plato and Aristotle and all that, and goes through the whole, everything. He's going to India now. He's just bringing it all, making a coherent thing. Anyway, so I'm listening to things like that. So I'm trying to assimilate the next wee bit of thing that I've learned. And so then I make my way into the studio, and once I get in there, it's like you sort of create the space. You sort of have to create the space, and all your tools and utensils are there, and you just sort of have to connect to them. It's a funny thing. Do you do all that? You're like doing this connection to your space that you've created, all your things. And sometimes it'll take me a long time before I can paint. I mean, sometimes I stare at empty canvases for, it could be months, could be weeks, it could be years. I'm staring at just one particular canvas I stared at for a good year before I could work on it, and then I feel the energy's coming for that canvas. I might have just not known what I need to know. It's like, I think things want to have a being. In fact, I remember listening to this beautiful Italian physicist saying that he thought our imagination is like messages from the universe, or just things that want to have their being. So when we imagine things, it's like, things. That's our job, to bring the things that we imagine into existence.
Yeah.
So it's like the universe, or whatever the energy, or just existence, and they come to you to make it happen, and you let it happen through you as best as you can. Yeah.
And do you wait on that, like, in order for that to happen then, Paloma? Or is it a case that, so for some of the canvases, you've waited for that moment that you feel like, I know what needs to go on here? Are there other times?
I never know.
Okay.
I never ever know what's going to happen.
Okay.
I have no idea what the painting's going to be, and I don't want to have an idea, but I just feel like aligned with it or something. Well, for the start off, I start with music, because whenever I started to paint at first, I was really taking painting more seriously. Whenever I lived out in the country, I lived in the stone barn out in the hills in Tyrone, and when I would start to paint, I would get so worried and so enervated that I would start to paint, and then I'd have to run down the hill or run across the fields. I just couldn't cope. I couldn't manage the energy. So I've had to learn to do that. And one way to get to tune into the energy is if I've been very static, I've been sitting in the house and I'm meditating, and then I go in, just calming down. If I feel very static, I feel in the eyes dance to get the music.
Movement.
When I say dance, I just mean, just put the music on, just move the music. I mean, I feel like I need it, because there are people, sort of techie people across from me who can see it.
But like, there's that wild woman again.
Just think, there's that bucket shit over there. What is she doing? Because when you look at it, you can't hear the music. It's like, what is that woman doing? And they always give me a big smile whenever I go out and think, oh, flip me. I'm mortified, but I have to do it. So.
Yeah, I understand.
So it gets the energy flowing in your body, sort of, to work with the paint, and then you just start to go. But I have never any idea what I'm going to do. I mean, that painting, I don't know if you can see it behind me, that big painting there. I love that painting. It's gigantic. It's 54 feet or something.
Wow.
But I have tried to do another painting like that, and I cannot do it. I just don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
And I've tried so hard, because I'd love to do more and sell them, but I just can't do it. So, and to have an idea of a painting would hurt my head. It's just, some people, I mean, I have a friend who paints really meticulously, and she is just a wee genius. She spends so much time, and her paintings are just so good, and they're so quick. I love her, I love the way she paints. It's just not me, it's not that I don't like it. I don't appreciate other kinds of paintings. But why am
I think for some people to recreate is easy, and that's kind of their style and how they go. But for other people, it's more difficult. It's like if somebody asks you to do a commission based on something that they've seen, I feel like that tangles me up. You might feel the same, Paloma.
Yes.
That I feel that's like, because you feel almost restrictions on it. I don't feel the same freedom as just being able to do what's already kind of processing inwardly in order to come outward, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Do you start with a color palette then, or do you just get into the studio and you think, I'm just going to see what happens?
I have absolutely no idea. And I just let me add, I did used to paint really, really realistically, because the man I was married to, he paints like Rembrandt. So he would teach me how to, that's part of how I came to abstraction. As a university, I used to paint like princesses with big satin dresses and sapphires and glasses and metals and all. I knew how to do all that. So I could do it, but it was like setting out to do something. It was just like, it was because I knew it before I did it. I didn't want to be bothered to do it, if you knew what I mean. You know what I mean? So the abstract then when I was at college, one day I just thought, I hate everything. Every day I walk into the studio, I absolutely hate everything I'm doing. I'm going to leave. And I put everything away and went down the lift, and I thought, no, I'm going to come back and do what I really, 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 really want to do, and start all over again. So that was how I came to more apps, because it's more about, I'm more interested in feelings. So
it's more process based, I guess. You get in.
It's very, very, very process based. So I start off on the process, just put some paint on, and see what I really want to do to it, because I love my palette more than my painting sometimes, your palette.
Yeah, I think sometimes put that up on a wall somewhere is much nicer,
I know. So I just sort of start and see what I want to do next. And sometimes I think, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do a big skate across there, I'm going to scrape all that off, I'm going to throw that on, I'm going to think, oh, I can't believe I'm going to do that. I've been working that for 2 months, and now you're going to do it. You're going to wreck it, but I can't stop myself. Oh my God, I'm going to do it. I've done it. That's why it's like, it's just like, and
then you either love it or you regret it, and that's it. It's done. Yeah. And that's it. Do you use any kind of sketchbooks, or do you make any notes, or do you use words or writing or anything like that in order for you to work out some of your processes? Or I guess you do a lot of courses and stuff and other things, but there's no sketch. I'm not very good at sketchbooks either, but
sketchbook. Oh no. I do put words. I used to put a lot of equations into my paintings, actually, because I was so into physics at one time. And actually, one time I was in Dublin, and I woke up on Sunday morning and went to, where's that place that's just closed down? I'm going to say Bailey's. It's not Bailey's. That place in Grafton Street that's just closed down.
Oh, Bewley's. Yeah.
But anyway, I went in and saw they had the Sunday Times, and on the cover of the Sunday Times, there was this picture of this gorgeous guy. He was a cosmologist. He was Portuguese, and he had lovely curly hair and crooked teeth and really sparky eyes. And they said, "Is this the new Einstein?" And this is the headline, the cover of the Sunday Times magazine. So I bought the magazine. I thought, oh, I have to connect with this guy. So anyway, I connected with him and said, like, if any bits of old scribbles lying around, and he's, I don't know, he's a professor in Imperial Ministry of Swanking. I was going to do any bits of rubbish lying around, and he's going, nobody usually calls my work that, but anyway, we started. And he sent me some of his equations. So I would carve in some of those equations into my paintings, and sort of like they were half there and half not there. So I used those. And I also used words, like I just did a big painting. I heard that girl who's the president of New Zealand, what do you call her?
Jacinta.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. Yeah, amazing. Love her. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just after the bomb had gone off there, the mosque or something was bombed up. And she gave a speech, and at the end of it she said, ko tattoo. And so I looked up what it meant, and it was Maori, and it means we are one, we belong together. So and I thought, what a beautiful thing for the person in charge of the country to say, we belong together, we are one, we belong together. And to remember that just when everything had been blown apart and people were all scattered, and she just gave this one saying that sort of brought us all in together. And I thought, that's the message for the world, ko tattoo. And it was Maori, the big guys, and it is Maori. And such a mysterious tribe. I love them. And all their markings and everything. So anyway, I put that on actually it was the last painting I did just before the lockdown. So I wrote it on, and then I thought it's not right, and wiped it out and put it on. I mean, it's on and off about, probably 20 or 30 times. It was on and off. It was too big, it was too small, it was too dark, it was too light. I can't see it, I can see it too much. Oh, and then I pulled it down, put it back up the painting, and but anyway, it was done, and I think it has that mystery about it. So yeah, I use words and things, but in a very oblique sort of way. They're just sort of referenced, and they're there and they're not there at the same time, because I love things being there and not being there at the same time.
I like that. Yeah, to be able to kind of get a glimmer of things coming through.
Yes.
And is it oils that you use, or do you use acrylics? What kind of medium do you use then?
I use some oils, and I use some bits of oils and some bits of paintings. I used to use exclusively oils, which I loved, but the studio that I have isn't big enough anymore. I used to have bigger studios with open doors and open windows, so I can't do that. So I just couldn't have oils. So I've had to learn to use acrylic, which is completely different. It's much harder because it dries. It doesn't give me, it has pluses and minuses. So I use acrylics, and I mix up. I buy little tins from a place, and I mix up colours, because I use so much paint. I can't be mixing a bit all the time. They all be dry, so I have to mix a whole lot of little pots of colours that I like, and I might choose them. I mean, half of them I've wasted probably £1,000 worth of paint before the lockdown because I had mixed up all my wee tins and they're just horrible now, you know. But anyway, yeah, so I used acrylics and pencils and just everything you can think of, some of the paintings, bits of crayons and bits of oil crayony things and pencils and felt, everything you can think of, yeah, it all goes.
First to hand kind of thing, yeah. And what would you find is the most challenging thing about being an artist or being creative? Is there anything that you find?
Pardon me, haven't got coronavirus. What did you find the hardest thing? The hardest thing is everything. The hardest thing is absolutely everything. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. You know, everything. Most other things that I've had to do in my life, like play music, instruments and things, I find it challenging, but I can manage it. But art, making painting is really hard. Well, you have nothing, you know, you just go in and there's nothing there. And you have to bring something there that's coherent, that has rhythm, that has composition, that has structure, that has form, that is peaceful, you know, or dynamic in some way, that is dynamic and peaceful, that has resonance, that has depth, that has a sense of time, that has a quality in it that is. But then I think the quality of your work has to relate to the quality of the being that you are. And I think that is the artist's work. The artist's work is your absolutely everything. It's like being a shaman or actually being a priest. It's like, it's everything you do. You know, I have to have everything in my life in order. I have to pay all my bills. I have to know everything sorted out. I have to know my house is sort of reasonably tidy and deep. I don't mind if there's things lying around, cushions and newspapers and that. Just books everywhere. But I can't be out of sync with anyone. I have to have all my relationships. And as far as I'm able, well, most of my relationships are okay, you know, all I can think of. But, you know, people come and go out of your life as well and allow that to happen. But, yeah, everything, and even things like sometimes I feel, you know, if I have an impulse to move a bunch of flowers over a bit, I sort of go with it because I feel that's the thing. And it's sort of like doing the thing when it wants you to do something. You know, it's like not being in obedience to it, but it's like just going, oh yeah, okay, so you're there, that's the hardest thing. It's just there's nothing and then you have to make something. And it has to be good and it has to be quality and it has to, well, you hope that it's something that touches people's hearts in some way. That's what I hope with my work. I just hope it's something that brings something. You know, I take it as a tremendous responsibility that people are paying money for the things that I make, and so I have tremendous respect for them and for their homes, and I love homes. I'm obsessed with houses. You are as well. You love homes.
Yeah, I am. I love interiors and all that kind of. I think people think of it as being, I don't know, not very. A little bit shallow, I don't know, maybe. But I just love it. I love aesthetics in all manner of form, you know, and obviously houses come into that then as well. I love seeing what people surround themselves with because I think that is so telling to their character and who they are and what's important to them, you know. And it's not right for everybody. It's like there's no right and wrong with it, you know. But yeah, I love houses and all that kind of stuff as well, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's one of the most important things to create a beautiful home for your family, a space for them to be a refuge, a sanctuary. It's a sacred space.
Yeah.
And to make it as beautiful, and to have the heart, you know, like some people I know, you know, they put so much time and energy and money into creating their beautiful home. And it's all coming from the love of their family that they're doing it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a beautiful thing to do and a really important thing. I think it gives so much to the adults and your family and to your whole extended family. You can bring them and give. Like I went to my brother's house last night. It was beautiful, and he had a wee poolie thing with bubbles. What you call it? No, I don't know what it was. Something outside anyway. And the children were able to go in.
Yeah, jacuzzi. Yeah,
and nephew, and a beautiful garden and lovely chairs. It was so comfortable, and a big barbecue fire and lovely plates, and it was just all so beautiful. And you know, it was much nicer than if it had just been, you know, wick stuff. But I mean, whenever you're younger, you know, I love wick stuff too. Just sitting outside on the beach with, you know, a can of something and an old paper plate is fun as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a magic, and I think it's a really just a loving thing to do, to create a home. So yeah, I really respect the homes. When I'm thinking my paintings are going into other people's homes, I really want to deliver them something for their money. I want them to know, the feel they've really got something. There's loads of paint on it, there's loads of time, there's loads of work on it, there's loads of, it's the best I can make it. So yeah, I feel that very, very much. Yeah.
I love that, because I also think, like, we're talking about the homes, and I think the homes are the energy that you put into it, and also the energy that, like you were saying, a refuge. That was one of my big things about our home, that it will be like a sanctuary and a refuge for us, somewhere that we feel safe and comfortable. But I think, as you said, like, you're putting your art into somebody's home, and you want your energy to be a reflection of that space as well, you know, and almost the energy that you've put into a piece of work to emulate into that space, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely, very much so.
Yeah, but yeah, it is really such a privilege, I guess, you know, such an honor, really, you know. So what would you say, Paloma, brings you joy in the everyday, in order for you to create more of your lovely works?
Oh, I'm very, very easily pleased.
I can tell you have this energy about, you know, just being great.
Just going outside and breathing in the air. It's just, sometimes I just can't believe it.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm going to cry again.
Yeah, but it just shows, I think it shows like the breath of life that's there, you know, which is amazing.
Yeah, and a cup of tea and really gorgeous toast with really good butter, and
I love that.
And my wee dog looking up at me, and just, you know, and the flowers, and growing loads of geraniums, far too many. Just seeing the wee geraniums, and then sometimes I'll get a bit bashed up looking, and then feed them and have a wee chat with them, plus them up, and then you go in and they're all poof, they'll come back again. And just so life is full of joy, you know. Life is, I mean, we've all known great stories. You don't get up, you know, you don't go past 40 without knowing, having your whole life pulled apart and squished and champed on and broken down, and just I've lost everything that I have a few times and all that kind of thing. So I've been right through the middle. But now, I'm feeling great, and
you're a breath of fresh air, Paloma. You really are, you know, definitely. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. For any creatives that would be thinking about, or not creatives, for people who wouldn't consider themselves to be creative but have a desire to get into it, would you have any words of encouragement or advice to just begin, just start? What would you start with if somebody came to you and said? Well,
the first thing I would say is to acknowledge that desire. If they have that desire, don't just sort of go, that's just, you know, it's easy to do. Just acknowledge the desire and say, you know, just touch your heart and say, you know, that desire, I actually feel that. I feel that I want to do something, and give it its importance, give it its place before you even begin. Don't begin out of it. So just to say, yeah, that is something that I feel, and I feel I want to take a step. I want to take a step. Mightn't be able to do something brilliant, but I could take a step. And so the first step, it sounds really, really boring, is I would advise to find a place where you can do your work. Find a place, because if you don't have a place, you'll not do it. If you have a little place, it's just a little corner or a little table or a little anything that you can and the act of making a place and making a space, that is actually that's a bigger step than you realize. And then, you know, get a few things, think, well, I think I might want to draw, maybe I'll try a bit of watercolors. So just go to the shop and buy a red, a blue and a green and a white and a black and a raw umber, a couple of earthy colours. Just buy, you know, 7 colours or something, and a wee thing, and just try to say, and just know nobody is going to see this. Nobody has to know about it. True. I'm going to do it, and I'm just going to see what happens. It doesn't have to be brilliant, but I could do 2%. Just 2%. I could take one step, because you have to start where you are. Just take one step. It doesn't have to be a big step. Don't tell anybody. Just tell yourself, and just have a wee thing with you and yourself to think, right, I'm just going to do this. And that's what I would say. And then it'll bring you on. It's like, well, I'd like some more colours, but I'd like to work a bit bigger. Well, maybe I could clear out that spare room. Maybe I could go to my granny's, you know, whatever.
Love that. It's just the beginning, isn't it? I love
Yeah.
that you said 2%. Just try 2% and see where you get on.
Yeah.
And also just saying it's just for you. Like nobody has to see this, you know.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Paloma, thank you so much for today. Thank you for coming on, chatting. Your knowledge of things is amazing, and you really are like a breath of fresh air. I love your positivity, and you can definitely tell your energy is high, and your paintings show that as well. They are absolutely gorgeous. Can you tell us where? Thank you. Can you tell us where people could find you on social media or?
Yes. I'm on Instagram. I'm terrible at doing all these things. I forget to take photographs all the time. But anyway, it's Paloma_King_artist on Instagram. And I think there's bits and pieces on Facebook, Paloma King Artist on Facebook, but it's very bad. I'm actually organising. I will have a website very soon. But you can see
you're working towards that. I get it. It's not, as for artists, it's generally not a priority, so I understand. Yeah. But yeah, so people can find you mostly on Instagram.
Yeah.
Great. Fantastic. Well, I would recommend anybody to check out your work on Instagram. It is really beautiful. And as I said, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Paula. It was so easy and it was lovely. Thank you. It's lovely to speak to you.
Take care. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.